companies of the world. What's your message, and how are you connecting to the MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises through the WTO?
Well, MSMEs in almost every country, even in the developed world, create 90% of the employment, sometimes in an economy, and produce a lot of the value. In value chains, MSMEs are very important. So this is a sector that I'm actually very passionate about. And I believe we also need to pay particular attention to their problems. The WTO has a working group on MSMEs where members actively consider the problems of MSMEs and what to do about it. And so that group is led by the ambassador to Barbados, Ambassador Matthew Wilson, and is very well attended, and they are very constantly looking at ways and means. In addition to all of that, like I said, I've taken an interest. I have an advisory group of business leaders, a business advisory group, and we make sure that it's not just big businesses that are members, but also we have some MSMEs, including one from India, who are members of the group. So we can listen directly to what are their problems, how do they see the rules that we're making, and what advice can they give us?
Right. Madam, one area which got touched upon in the morning session was about free trade agreements, and I heard your speech also very, very carefully. I wanted to hear once again from you, is there any alternative but to go ahead with it, with many free trade agreements when there is so much of uncertainty? I know it's you have labored on this point very strongly, but you also heard our Honorable Minister speak about what is the alternative but to see how do we club together a few countries and see to it that we are safe when we are getting attacked from all over?
Well, we welcome free trade agreements at the WTO. First, let me commend Minister Piyush Goyal. He's trying to do a free trade agreement, a full-fledged one with the US, which would be WTO compliant. We encourage full-fledged free trade agreements that cover substantially all trade, and that's what he's trying to do, more than we do framework agreements, which are not very compliant. So congratulations on his trying to push for that. But I just want people to understand that we don't have a problem with free trade agreements. Why is that? If you look at we have a whole unit. The only work they do is look at all the agreements that are made in the world. Because as soon as you make it, you have to report it to the WTO. Most of them are built on a WTO platform. So even though it is between two members or two groups, the rules are very much WTO based. So we do not see them as a threat. And actually, we are okay with them because we think members need to diversify their trade. So we welcome this diversification by members seeking new markets. We welcome the regional agreements. They are WTO compliant or supportive, most of them, so they are not a problem. I know people get surprised because they say, aren't you threatened by all these agreements? And no, they should go ahead. They help the members to diversify their trade. I don't see them as a threat. I welcome them.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. We have a few minutes and we are running a little over time, but I'll open it up for some questions from our businessmen in this group. And can I turn to anyone that I could see? Dilip trying to, please, a mic for Mr. Dilip Soni of Rockwell.
Thank you so much, CB, for giving me this opportunity. Dr. Avela, thank you so much for those insight and comments that you shared right here. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. I come from a technology company, Rockwell Automation. We are hugely invested into the future of advanced manufacturing. And a trend that we see, which we see as a strength for India as well, is servification of manufacturing, where services and products begin to blend. And I wanted to just understand your point of view from where you sit on how the policy framework might evolve to support that.
How No, a policy framework to support certification.
No, servification, so services and products.
Servicification.
Yeah.
How can one support servicification of products?
Oh, servicification of products.
So new services coming into manufacturing. So how do you?
Services coming into manufacturing. Well, this is a very interesting question because we are seeing that manufacturing is more and more services embedded in manufacturing. So when we talk of services separately and manufacture, actually it's much more complex than that and much more exciting in a way. And then I talked about AI getting more and more embedded in products and changing the nature of the products. That's what you're referring to.
That's right.
Yeah. I see that, I see a big future in that, honestly. And I think the only aspect, I went to talk to the ISO the other day, and we were talking of this subject. What we are getting asked about standards. You know, how do we take I like the way you put servicification of products. I hadn't heard that term before. You know, so the issue is, what does this mean for standards? And we don't have the answer yet. We don't have the answer, but we are beginning to plumb that question because it's going to come. And because I think it's a trend for the future, we have to work fast. So there are several organizations thinking about this and how to deal with it. But I think it's a good thing. It's an exciting thing. And I don't think we can stop it.
Thanks for those insights. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'll come to you, and before that, I'll come to Ravichandran of Danfoss.
Thank you, Director General. That was very inspiring to listen to you. My question is, you know, the world is more moving to data flow than trade flow. And currently, you know, if you look at the global south, they're not being, you know, on a level playing field with the developed economies when it comes to data regime and data interoperability, and there are no trust-based rules to share data. What is WTO doing about it?
I think, well, people have said that data flows are the new oil or the new gold. I don't know which. And you're absolutely right that many developing countries are worried about their data being captured and used without their benefiting from it or even losing the privacy. And we don't have our own rules sometimes to govern this. So at the WTO, this is one of the issues we're looking at. In the e-commerce agreement that was being negotiated, data flows was a big issue. It has not been resolved. As you can imagine, there are differing views as to how rules should be made to govern data flows. There are some who believe in a more liberal approach, and there are others who believe in, well, I need to have something to reassure me. So it is going to be handled in the first phase has just dealt with very, I think, basic things like e-signatures, spam, things like that, you know, to get basic rules across on how to deal. The next is data flows. So this is going to be the very difficult, but we are working on it, and it's in the next negotiations. I think it's going to be very tough.
That's a very, very important thought, Madam, and I think that's something that we would like to engage deeper into, because data is going to be a very, very critical issue. You talked about data being gold, and person who relates a lot to gold in certain ways is Thomas Muthoot in India. Yes, Thomas, carry on.
Thank you, CB. Your Excellency, it was a good interaction. My question, I come from a financial services sector. I would like to know a lot of things are happening in the Gen AI and AI, and this is going to affect or accelerate financial services. So in a country like India, emerging economy, how do you think WTO can make the financial system safer in an emerging economy?
Well, you know, first of all, India is stripping ahead in this area, you know, and I think is doing extremely well. You know, the WTO cannot make rules on everything. And I'm not sure that on financial systems and the role of AI, that we are the competent authorities to deal with that. So maybe some of the central bankers and the finance ministers and the central authorities are better equipped to, and they are, looking at the role of AI. But beyond that, things like stable coins in the financial system and how this is going to change that, how AI is changing that whole system. The finance ministers of the world with the central bank governors are looking at those. And I think they are more competent than, we will look at it from the point of view of how does it affect trade. But I think with respect to regulatory issues in that regard, I'd rather leave it to them. I'm not trying to avoid your question. I don't think the WTO should try to do everything. You know, we should leave some things where we don't have as much competence to others, and then maybe try to partner with them once they've got a handle on the issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's someone who raised a hand
I guess
here. Last question. Sorry? Yes, the last guy. Yeah.
Madam Excellency, this is Sanjay Kombera. I'm CEO at Axel One, a deep climate tech, a climate engineering company. What's your perspective? I mean, you've talked about the ESG regulations around the world. I have actually two questions. One, do you think the world would have a one standard framework on environmental, social, and governance aspects? Because right now we have CSRD, we have different frameworks around the world. That's first question. Second one is, we have talked about green economy, and we have talked about hydrogen powered, because hydrogen is actually, based upon a lot of stats, hydrogen is a failure. So do you think the countries should invest more on climate engineering, really bring AI to understand your weather patterns, your climate models? You have talked about lots of floods around different parts of the world. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't rain. There's a lot of unpredictability for farmers. So do you think countries should spend more money on, when I say the green economy money, on the climate engineering side, rather than just spending money on hydrogen power and solar powered initiatives?
I got this last question. I'll come back to, I didn't get the first. So let me answer the last one first. I think I think businesses are deciding. And in spite of all the talk against climate change and dialing down on those investments, I think many businesses have decided that the cat has left the barn, or whatever you want to call it. And they are continuing to make investments in renewables, in green hydrogen, in solar. I don't think it's either or. I think these investments need to go in parallel, okay? That's what I think. You should make investments in understanding what impact climate-related changes are going to have on the real sector. I think it's very, very worthwhile, because sometimes we're talking about lives being lost. But we should also make investments on adaptation issues, on mitigation, how to mitigate, understanding it, but also how to adapt, because it's happening. I think it's not either or. The two should go hand in hand. We have focused a lot more on mitigation in the past. And now people are saying, hey, we need to change gears and also invest in adaptation. And I think that is the case. By the way, can I just give you one statistic? We have up to $2 trillion of very bad subsidies that are wrongly subsidizing the wrong things in the world, in both developed and developing countries. There are some kinds of fossil fuel subsidies up to 1.2 trillion that are not really necessary. There are subsidies on agriculture, some of them necessary, some not. Some are trade distorting. There are subsidies on fisheries that the WTO has just removed or prohibited, 22 billion. If we even repurposed 1/3, I'm not asking for all, because removing subsidies is politically very difficult, just a portion to work on adaptation and mitigation, it would really be very good for the world. I'm not asking for extra fiscal resources. Let's just change the nature of the badly used resources we have in the world, and that could help with these investments. And
You know,
the first part of the question I
The first one was
if you kindly excuse, because I know the entire team of the Director General will come onto the stage because she has a ministerial meeting immediately after that. And therefore, I could even thank you for 10 minutes, but I'll only be saying thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us, for spending time and connecting with Indian business and the world business so directly. We appreciate this. We would wish to continue this. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Madam, for a brilliant session and also the morning session before that.
you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, join
Thank
me
you
in
for
thanking
having me.
the Honorable Director General.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing those extremely valuable perspectives with us. Thank you, Mr. Banerjee, for initiating that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us. We have our next session, which is part of this plenary hall. It is at 5:45. We'll request you to please join us back for that session.